Hey, welcome back. I'm glad that you're able to be with us. Let's pick up where I left off on the things that people get offended at God over. Because offense is deadly and dangerous, whether you're offended at God or you're offended at man. And Paul and John both we've seen out of Acts chapter 24 and Matthew chapter 11, both of those two great men of God had to exercise themselves to not take offense. Well, if they had to exercise themselves, then you and we need to exercise ourselves and learn how not to take offense. Well, the teaching has progressed to a point that we're looking at the third thing that people get offended at God over, and that's grace. And that's grace. I want to look at 1 Corinthians chapter 1 because it took me a while to process this as a minister, even that how could anybody be offended at the love of God, the mercy of God, the grace of God? But I've discovered in Scripture and in practicality that the legalist gets offended at grace. People that are legalistic, dogmatic, overbearing in a religious way, and are really stuck under law, grace offends them. And you don't need to be one of those people. You need to work your way out, if you will, of looking to works to be saved, blessed, used, honored by God in any way, form, or fashion, and understand it's about grace through faith that we are saved. Grace through faith, we're blessed, healed, used, and honored now, even by God. And if grace is offensive to you, then that's a sure sign that you've got a little legalism in you. You might have a little bit of a Pharisee still in your heart, and you need to make sure you get that out. So in 1 Corinthians chapter 1, I'm going to start in verse 17 through 24. Paul speaking here, he says, "For Christ sent me not to baptize, but to preach the gospel, not with wisdom of words, lest the cross of Christ should be made of none effect." Now let's stop right there. There are things that can make the cross of Christ of none effect. As powerful as the cross is, I mean, the cross, when you start talking about the cross, everything in our human existence is even defined by the cross. Time as we know it is BC and AD. The cross was the center of human history and the most powerful thing that's ever happened on this earth. Yet Paul says there's things that can make it of none effect. Cancel it out, if you will. Well, what in the world are those? Verse 18 says, "For the preaching of the cross to them that perish is foolishness, but unto us which are saved it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, I will bring to naught the understanding of the prudent. Where is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this world? Hath not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? For after that, in the wisdom of God, the world by wisdom knew not God. It pleased God by the foolishness of preaching to save them that believe." Now watch this. "For the Jews require a sign, and the Greeks seek after wisdom. But we preach Christ crucified, unto the Jews a stumbling block, a rock of offense. Unto the Jews a stumbling block, a rock of offense. And unto the Gentiles foolishness. But unto them which are called, both Jews and Gentiles, you and I, Christ, the power of God and the wisdom of God." That is so powerful. He's not trying to be derogatory toward a people, the Jews. He's trying to explain to us that the Jews here represent those who are looking to the law, those who are looking to their own holiness, self-righteousness, to be accepted, loved, blessed, healed, and saved by God. He says to them, the cross is a stumbling block that has to set in. It's offensive to them. To the Gentile or the Greek, the great philosophers, it's foolishness. I mean, really, to the world and to a heady, high-minded philosopher, one man goes to the cross and dies for everybody, and we're all forgiven through that one man. One man dies, 3 days later, he's raised from the dead. I don't know about that, et cetera, et cetera. But to us which are saved, the cross is the power of God and the wisdom of God. So notice how three different groups relate, and they represent all kinds of groups. Like, for instance, when he says the Jews, he's not talking about the Hebrews and every one of them stumbled. The first century church was made up of Christians. There were many Jews that believed. There were 3,000 on the day of Pentecost. They were all Jews that got saved on the day of Pentecost, etc., etc. So when he says to the Jew there, he's talking about to the self-righteous, to those who are looking to their works, that the cross is an offense. You can see that in our world today. You can see that in our politics today, that there are people that literally think it's what they do that's going to save them. It's what they do or cause us not to do that's going to save the planet. And on I could go with issues in our culture today that are against God and Christ and the Bible and things of that nature. And they're offended at grace. They're offended at the love of God. They're offended at a God of such mercy and goodness and kindness that he has saved everybody in one sacrifice. That's the body and Jesus himself giving his life for them. To the Jew or to those that are self-righteous, that's an offense, a stumbling block. To the Greeks, the heady-minded, the smart, the wise, after the flesh, foolishness. But to you and I, it's the power of God. So why do people get offended at God? Grace is a major force in the planet today that people get offended at, and we just have to trust God in those things. So from there, I want to give you an example in Luke chapter 15 of how grace offends religious people. And see, when I say religious people, I'm not talking about people that just go to church. I need that to sink in for just a second. When I say religious people, I'm not talking about people that go to church. I'm talking about people who look to themselves as saviors. So there are people in the culture. Politics today for many is a religion. And they are self-righteous. They think they are holier than everybody around them, and they condescend, and they in their arrogance and self-righteous look down and talk down to everybody else because they are righteous, holy in and of themselves. They're saviors, etc., in their own minds. And so grace is an offense to religious people, period. Luke chapter 15 is where Jesus paints this picture. And what I want to do with my remaining time is lay a good foundation so that I can really nail this down in the next program, because this takes time. So let me set the picture for Luke 15 for you. In Luke chapter 15, let me just read 2 verses. Then in our next broadcast, we'll delve a little deeper. But just to set the stage, Luke chapter 15, verses 1 and 2. And this is the parables that many of you are familiar with of the lost coin, the lost sheep, and the lost son. But look at how it opens. In Luke 15, verse 1, then drew near unto him all the publicans and sinners for to hear him. So you've got publicans and sinners that are eager to hear him, seeking him. And the Pharisees and the scribes murmured, saying, this man receiveth sinners and eats with them. And then he began to tell them a parable. So you've got the stage set. You've got people that are living sinful lives, but they're seeking God. They're coming to Jesus. And the Pharisees murmured. They were offended at God's love for these sinners. They couldn't believe it, that he eats with sinners and Republicans. I meant publicans. But he eats with these publicans and these sinners. Why would that be offensive to anybody? He's reaching out to them. He's not condoning their sin. He's not embracing their sin. He's certainly not celebrating their sin. He came to save them. He loves them. And that was an offense to the Pharisees. Then Jesus goes into this parable, and you've got to keep in mind, this is what he's addressing for the rest of the chapter. He talks about a lost coin, a lost sheep, and a lost son. And that's the whole middle of the chapter. And then he spends extra time on the lost son, and that's what we'll do in the next broadcast. The lost coin, his whole point was that it's valuable. And the lady that lost the coin tears the whole house apart till she finds that coin. And when she finds the lost coin, she calls all her friends and they rejoice. That's pretty powerful. And he's really talking about lost people. And when God finds lost people and they get saved, all of heaven rejoices. And so then he uses the lost sheep illustration that the guy leaves 99 sheep. He's not neglecting the 99. He doesn't now not love the 99. The whole parable is he leaves the 99, goes after the one, puts it on his shoulder, finds it, saves it, brings it back to the 99, calls all of his friends, and they rejoice. That's grace. That's God pursuing people that go astray. The lady cared about the lost coin, didn't just say, I got a bunch of money over here. I don't care about that one lost coin. I got 99 sheep. Who cares about the one? That's a sorry sheep anyway. God's not like that. He cared about the one, went and got it, put it on his shoulders. That's love. That's grace. He wasn't condoning the sheep being lost. He was rejoicing the sheep being found. Brings him back, calls all his friends. Then he tells the story of a lost son. And man, that story embodies offense at God's grace. This older son is really the heart of the story. And I'm looking forward to sharing that in our next broadcast because this older son was not happy. He was offended and angry and bitter because the father loved the lost son. And so I'll explain that in detail because you don't want to be offended at grace. Man, I appreciate you being a part of this broadcast. I want to encourage you to go to PastorDuane.com, PastorDuane.com. We have now over 1,500 messages that are available to you absolutely free to encourage you, enrich your life, and walk with Jesus. And I believe all those messages will be a blessing to you. And I'd like to connect with you better through our website. And so I want to encourage you to go to PastorDuane.com. Looking very forward to the next broadcast, and I hope you can be with us. God bless you.
This free teaching is only possible because of the generous donations of our DSM Impact partners. Visit PastorDuane.com to learn how you can join and help make an impact in our world. We hope you enjoyed this message. Thanks for watching.